Greetings, fellow Dungeon Delvers, and welcome to Dorans and Dragons, where we work together to come up with Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition builds for your favorite League of Legends champions. Today we're building Sylas, the Unshackled. Sylas of Dregborn was born to a poor Demacian family in one of the poorer sections of the city. Trained by the Mageseekers of Demacia, Sylas began to notice a hidden hypocrisy in the great city. Those with magical gifts who were poor or of low social status were punished severely for their abilities, while the talents of the higher echelons of society were ignored by the Mageseekers. Sentenced to life in prison for the accidental murder of his mentor, Sylas waited until he could manipulate Lux into unwittingly releasing him. He fled to the Freljord to gather allies and ancient magic to end Demacia's tyranny of his fellow mages once and for all. Before we get started with the build, go ahead and like the video and hit that subscribe button so you're always notified when we release our builds. Huge shout out to our Patreon folks who voted on this week's build. We really appreciate your support. Alright, now let's get into it. First, let's cover the goals of this build. The most important one is that we need to be able to manipulate magic, and more importantly, the magic of others. We have to break free of the chains that were set upon us, and then use those chains to show our captors the error of their ways. Finally, we need some sustain. Sylas likes to get into the thick of the battle, but keeps himself alive through sustaining off of the energy of others. For race, we're going to go with Variant Human. This build has 4 feats. You can bet your booty I'm taking the free one here. Variant Humans gain a +1 to 2 scores. We'll take a point each in Dexterity and Intelligence. We'll also gain a skill proficiency here. We're going to pick up Persuasion. As a Rebellion leader, you're going to need to be very charming. For the free feat, we'll start off with Dual Wielder. This gives you a +1 bonus to AC when wielding a separate melee weapon in each hand. This also lets you ignore the light property requirement for 2-weapon fighting, which will enable us to use both of our whips. Finally, you can draw or stow 2 one-handed weapons when you could normally only do 1. That one just comes down to whether your DM gives you a hard time about whether your weapons are out or not for combat, but hey, it helps, so we figured we'd mention it. For our background, we're going to make a custom one named Former Mageseeker. We'll pick up skill proficiencies in Arcana and Investigation, and we'll take the Watcher's Eye background feature from the City Watch Investigator background. Basically, it amounts to all of your law enforcement experience, granting you the ability to locate crime dens and other law enforcement outfits. For stats, I say standard, you say array. Standard.
Array!
Standard.
Array!
Thank you to my wonderful wife for indulging me in my shenanigans. Roll if you'd like to, but we need at least a 13 in Dexterity and Strength for multiclassing. Dexterity is going to headline our stats. Being on the run and wielding his chain and shackles as weapons requires quite a bit of the old hand-eye coordination. We'll take Intelligence next. Sylas is a brilliant man, able to see through the lies of Demacia and orchestrate his own prison escape. Strength is next for multiclassing purposes. I prefer to push it lower and bring up Con and Charisma, but these are the woes of multiclassing. Plus, when you look at the splash art, dude is swole. Speaking of, Constitution is next. Surviving out in the Freljord is going to require a thickness of skin and spirit. After that, we'll go with Charisma. I really think this should be up much higher, but the standard array giveth and the standard array taketh. Finally, we'll dump our Wisdom. Revolutions aren't always the wisest course of action, especially against a city so militarized and able to shut down magic like Demacia is. In terms of equipment, the only special items we'll need for this build are 2 whips, which we'll flavor as Sylas' Petricite chains. Alrighty, let's kick off this build with a level in Rogue. Sylas has been a rebel from the beginning, so this isn't much of a surprise. Rogues have a D8 hit die. They also have proficiencies in light armor, simple weapons, hand crossbows, short swords, long swords, and rapiers, as well as thieves' tools. We also get to choose 4 rogue skills to become proficient in. We'll pick up Acrobatics for our chain shenanigans, Athletics for dashing and leaping, Deception to trick Lux into freeing us, and Insight for learning how corrupt Demacia is. Now we get to double some of these proficiencies with the Expertise feature. I think Arcana and Persuasion make the most sense here. We also get the Rogue's iconic Sneak Attack feature. This allows you to add extra damage anytime an enemy of your enemy is within 5 feet of your target, which usually makes you friends or something, or you have advantage on the attack. This starts as 1d6, but will scale up to 9d6 by the end of the build. The final level 1 rogue feature is the Thieves' Cant, which is a cryptic language only you and fellow thieves know, that lets you send coded messages through seemingly normal conversation. Second level rogues get Cunning Action. This lets you really utilize your bonus action by allowing you to dash, hide, or disengage with your bonus action rather than burning a full action. Level 3 rogues choose their Roguish Archetype. Sylas has the touch of magic in him, and it's starting to come out now. Arcane Trickster is the route to go. This gives us spellcasting and the Mage Hand Legerdemain. Mage Hand Legerdemain improves your Mage Hand ability drastically. First off, the hand is invisible. You can also store or pluck objects off of other creatures in containers, and you can use your Thieves' Tools to pick locks and disarm traps at range, which can all be controlled as a bonus action via Cunning Action. As always with our spellcasters, we're only going to be focusing on the Sylas specific spells. We'll take 2 cantrips and a level 1 spell here. Shocking Grasp is a touch range spell that we'll flavor as the early version of our W, Kingslayer. Lightning springs from your hands and strikes a target in melee range. On a hit, they take 1d8 lightning and can't take reactions until the start of its next turn. We'll also pick up our passive ability, Petricite Burst, with Thunderclap. You create a burst of sound, or magical energy from your Petricite shackles, whatever floats you in your DM's boat. Each creature within 5 feet other than you makes a con save and takes 1d6 thunder if it fails. And the level 1 spell we'll take here is Detect Magic, which is just spot on for Sylas, who should just be able to cast this innately. If only we had enough room in this build for some Warlock levels. Anyway, Detect Magic allows you to sense the presence of magic within 30 feet of you. If a Skull of Magic is related, you'll learn that as well. You'll see the object outlined with a faint aura. 4th level rogues get an ability score improvement. So last level we got spells, but what's the point of that if we can't use both of our chains and cast at the same time? We're going to forgo the ASI and pick up a feat to help out here instead. Warcaster is a feat that gives a plethora of abilities. First, you have advantage on all concentration spell checks when taking damage. Most importantly, you can perform spells even with weapons or shields in your hand. And finally, whenever an enemy provokes an opportunity attack, you can smack them with a spell rather than an attack, as long as the cast time is 1 action and it's single target. Dual chains and spells are online. Alright, now that we have our weapons and spells, we're going to take a slight detour to give our little revolutionary some unarmored defense by taking a single level in Barbarian. The Freljord brings it out in a man, and we all know that feeling. Barbs have a d12 hit die, so this will be a nice little bump for a level. We also get proficiency with martial weapons and shields. You can also rage, but we probably won't. You can't cast spells, and beyond taking the half damage from bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing damage, you don't really gain any benefits. But we do get unarmored defense, which gives us AC equal to 10 plus your dex and con modifiers, which is much better since Sylas is always running around shirtless. One more detour, and then I promise we'll get back to the Magic Hand Man. Fighters have a d10 hit die, 1 tier above rogue, 1 tier below barbs. We do get medium armor proficiency here, but who cares? Level 1 fighters choose a fighting style to focus on. We'll take 2 weapon fighting to add our dex mod to our offhand swings. Finally, we get Second Wind. This lets you heal 1d10 plus your fighter level, which is gonna be 2, once per short rest. For the love of everything holy, please use this before you burn your hit die on a short rest. Do it, thank me later. 2nd level fighters get Action Surge. You gain the ability to push yourself to the limit and take an additional action. Right now, this will just give you some more attacks, but we'll use it later to bring our Q, Chain Lash, to life. And back to the Magic Hand Man like I promised. Level 5 rogues get Uncanny Dodge, which lets you burn your reaction to reduce any attack's damage in half that you can see coming. 6th level rogues get 2 additional skills to expertise in. We'll keep pushing our face skills for the Rebellion by choosing Insight and Deception to double our bonuses with. Level 7 rogues gain Evasion. This lets you give your DM the finger anytime a dex save comes up. If you fail the save, you only take half damage, and if you succeed, you take none, even if you would normally take half. We also get 2nd level spells here. We'll bring our Q, Chain Lash, fully online by taking the Shatter spell. You make a sudden loud explosion of sound, or Petricite energy, Petricite stuff. Each target within a 10-foot radius sphere needs to make a con save or take 3d6 damage. Also, if the creature is made of inorganic material like stone, crystal, or metal, it has disadvantage on the save. Get wrecked, Galio. So to Chain Lash, we'll use our action to make an attack with our chain, bonus action to weapon fighting, flavoring them as happening at the same time, then Action Surge casting Shatter. Boom. Roasted. Or shattered. We'll also pick up our E, Abscond and Abduct with the Hold Person spell. You choose a target humanoid in range and force a Wisdom saving throw on it. If it fails, it's paralyzed for the duration. Paralyzed is rough. I recommend dashing with Cunning Action, using this spell, and then Action Surging and giving them a nice little thwap with your chains, which is a guaranteed critical strike. along with the sneak attack damage, which also critically strikes. 8th level rogues gain another ability score improvement. We're going to take another feat here. As a Mageseeker, Sylas learned the skills of a Mage Slayer. This lets you use a reaction to make an attack against any creature that casts a spell within 5 feet of you. You also give disadvantage on all concentration saving throws made as a result of your damage. And finally, you gain advantage on saving throws from any spell cast by a creature within 5 feet of you. Level 9 Arcane Tricksters get the Magical Ambush ability. Any creature you're hidden from has disadvantage on the saving throw it makes against a spell you cast on it. Shatter from the dark. 10th level rogues get an ability score improvement. Now for this one and the 12th level ASI, I recommend you choose either Dexterity or Intelligence to max out one of them. Dexterity gives you more consistent damage from your chain attacks, as well as higher AC from your unarmored defense. Intelligence gives you higher spell saves and spell attack rolls, which depending on the route you choose to focus on this build may be more important to you. We're going to choose Dexterity here, and round out our Intelligence with our 16th level ASI. Level 11 rogues gain the Reliable Talent feature. Any ability check with a skill you're proficient in can ignore all rolls of 9 and below and treat them as 10s. Watch out for that nat 1 though. At my table I'll get you for that. 12th level rogues get the aforementioned ASI. Like I said before, just keep it consistent so we get to max one of those stats out and take the opposite at 16. Level 13 Arcane Tricksters pick up a few tricks here. See what I did there? First, they unlock the Versatile Trickster feature. This lets them use their bonus action to distract a target with their mage hand, giving them advantage on all attack rolls against the creature until their turn ends. You also get level 3 spells. Time to get some sustain with our W Kingslayer through the Vampiric Touch spell. You make a melee spell attack on a target. If it hits, the target takes 3d6 necrotic and you heal back half of that damage. This can be a cast again as an action each turn until your concentration breaks or 10 rounds of combat pass. 14th level rogues pick up the Blindsense feature, which gives you the ability to detect any invisible creatures within 10 feet of you, as long as your hearing hasn't been impaired in some way. Level 15 rogues get the Slippery Mind feature, which gives proficiency in wisdom saving throws. This makes you especially resilient to mental trickery. 16th level rogues get the ability score improvement I mentioned earlier. Since it's the last one of the build, we're going to round up our odd scores because I detest oddities. Hashtag self-hate. So we'll round up our intelligence or dexterity based on your previous choices, and our strength to bump up each of the modifiers by 1. Finally, we got to the whole point of this subclass at level 17 of the Arcane Trickster. The Spell Thief feature is the best version of Sylas' ultimate, Hijack. Immediately after a creature casts a spell that includes you, or you're in the radius of, you can burn your reaction and force a saving throw against it using its spellcasting ability. On a failed save, you can negate the spell's effect against you and steal the ability to cast the spell. The creature can't cast the spell either until the effect is ended. Imagine not only having your spells used against you, but being unable to use them back. Alright, now that we've completed the build, let's see how we did. First, the good. I made the Rihanna whips and chains joke in the Thresh video, so I won't retread here, but our chain game is definitely on point. Sylas is also very well equipped to not only use magic, but to locate and take out magic users as well. Hijack is one of the most unique abilities in the game, and we got it in D&D. That's a huge win. Now the bad. As usual, anyone we don't specifically build tanky ends up relatively squishy. 130 health and 16 AC a thick boy does not make, but the defensive rogue feature should help out here. Taking so many feats definitely hindered our ability to max our ability scores, but we did get to max out one at least. Finally, if you don't get your sneak attack going, the damage of this build is going to be fairly low. So, what'd you think? I've included a link to this build via D&D Beyond in the description below, as well as Amazon links to the books used in this build. If you enjoy this type of content, please consider supporting us on Patreon. We have a few awesome rewards, including access to our Discord community and a guaranteed champion build. We plan on turning out one League champion build every week. Thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll catch you on the Rift, or in the Forgotten Realms.